And now to help us look at this business of technology, we're joined by Reid, President and CEO of the Canadian Advanced Technology Alliance, CATA for short, the nation's biggest tech organization. Welcome back.
Good to see you, Paul.
Now, this was a big week to talk about video with the announcement of Netflix Canada coming to the country, and they're going to live stream movies and TV shows. Is this all part of a pretty significant change that's underway?
Well, you know, Paul, innovation, a simpler way of doing things that usually saves you money. So Netflix fits that category. It really is delivering online at a lower cost some of the content that we're seeing on TV. I certainly wouldn't want to own a video store in Canada these days.
And I mean, the criticism at the start of this was a pretty limited selection, old material, but they're promising to try and update that. Is that really what's going to drive this industry? You have to have content and price, and then people will look at you?
Well, that's one of the limiting factors. I mean, you have to download software. These are all solvable problems, though, and really you're looking at a game changer. So you can't sit comfortable in any business these days, and it's something you have to pay attention to. Again, it's innovation. It's a simpler, more cost-effective way of doing something.
Now, the federal government got back to work in Ottawa this week, and digital strategy was the talk when we left the politicians earlier this year. Now they're back. Are there any developments on that front? Is the strategy moving ahead?
Well, you know, we put in 3 submissions, and they actually asked to meet with us in the summer, and they then asked us to develop a set of 8 or 10 recommendations that wouldn't cost significant dollars to implement. And I think the best way to summarize what we put forward was openness. You have to be open standards, open investment, open exports. So if you keep that as guidance, you really come up with a more powerful framework to achieve digital excellence in Canada.
Do you think tech can rise to the top of the political agenda, or at least somewhere near the top, and something will actually happen?
Well, I don't think there's any way out, because if the consumer is, again, working and playing in different ways, I mean, everything is online now. We live in the digital world, so you have to respond to the voter, and we have digital voters. They're going to want us to be more effective in how we create that environment in Canada.
Deloitte came out with their annual top 50 fastest growing tech firms in the country, 5 of them here in Ottawa. I found it interesting that Deloitte said smaller companies and an even smaller niche, we're really becoming focused. We're not the big tech companies anymore. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, you know, big becomes small. I guess the question, do we have the resources in place that will propel those small companies to be very large companies? And I suppose a key concern is venture capital, where really we're forecasting smaller pools of capital in Canada, but in China, in India, and in Brazil, they're forecasting larger and larger pools. So where are you going to invest? Where are you going to grow the businesses? You've got to have that capital flow into Canada. It has to flow into the startups. That's the only way you get new flagships.
Final question, John, is on social networking and all that encompasses. CATA's been really working on that. You've got multiple language blogs. You're reaching out to hundreds of thousands of people. Is it paying off? A lot of business people wonder, is it worth my doing this? And what's the secret?
Well, you know, we talked about innovation, a simpler way of doing things that saves you money. I used to send newsletters out in the mail. Before I came here, I embedded a URL in our social networks, and we now have 450,000 people, you know, reading the content. Just as I'm going to redistribute what we're doing here right now, that's brought in new leads, it's brought in new business, it's added an increment to the CATA business, and I would suggest that all businesses have to figure that out if they want to grow faster and they want to take advantage of that digital economy.
Okay, Reid of CATA, thanks very much for your time.